Today's show is brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, the top-rated sports booking app in all of North America. Safe, secure, and more importantly, they are reliable. So for all of my people, though, that want to get involved, because like I said, we don't just talk about them when we talk about them. We give you a reason to talk about them. We know it's the wild card. Well, wild card just finished up, not the outcome that some of us wanted, but I'm sure there's some people that still got a little action going on. And if you are in that case, then yeah, man, DraftKings is the place that you want to be for, especially the new people out there, right? When you download the app, you use that first, or you make your first deposit of $5, man. Use the promo code MOATS. You will receive $200 in bonus bets. It's a cool concept, man. Gives you a chance to potentially get more earnings off of that thing, man. But at the same time, you can get lost in the sauce. And if that does happen, and you're in New York, it's the number that you can text. But for everybody else, the digits to dial are 1-800-GAMBLER. I said a 1-800-GAMBLER. I mean, I like it all. I do.
You need a guy. You need a quarterback. That's what needs to happen, one way or another.
Respect. All right.
What do you think?
I mean, me personally, I feel like everything you said is going to put you right back in the exact same position. It's just different faces. We're hoping that Justin Fields develops into the guy. If he develops into the guy, then none of this matters because you have the guy. Same way we thought with Russ. If you could develop into the guy, then you're the guy. We got him. We feel good. Aaron Rodgers. If Rodgers could come here and he could rewind the clock. Why? Because that would make him the guy. Ben Johnson. We love Ben Johnson. Why? Because Jared Goff looks like what? The guy. That's why Eric Bieniemy was talked about the way he was talked about at one point. Because he had the guy. So I think we all gonna be just saying the same thing until you find the guy. Sam Darnold was not viewed how he's viewed right now because he wasn't playing like how he was playing. Whether you're talking San Fran, Carolina, or even the Jets, where he was a first-round draft pick. We focus a lot on first-round draft picks, but we see way more guys fail as first-round draft picks than we see actually succeed as first-round draft picks. Even in our past year, we've experienced 3 former first-round draft picks that are viewed as failures. Trubisky, Pickett, Fields. So it's like, I like the idea of change. I like the idea of not continuing to do the same thing. But me personally, I'm not open, or I'm not the type of guy that is very interested in change for the sake of change when I don't feel like it's going to get me closer. I think it pushes me further away. And what I mean is this. A lot of people schematically know X's and O's. Are a lot of people leaders of men? No. Are a lot of people leaders of organizations? No. There are a lot of talented players out there. Does that talent equate to production? No. Justin Fields is kind of like one of the main people with that. When I think of just this team as a whole, and I'm like, yeah, were there some positives? Yeah, they were. Where there are some negatives? Yes, they also were. But from my vantage point, I don't feel like I'm overreacting to these losses, specifically the 5-game stretch or the postseason losses, when in all those 5 matchups, I mean, we really wanted to ask, where were we favored at? Heck, even the Bengals matchup, we were, I want to say, 2-point underdogs in that one. Where were we had the better rosters, right? If we really went and asked that question. All right, let's start with the Eagles. Jalen Hurts, quarterback for quarterback, running game, running back for running back, offensive line, O-line for O-line, D-line for D-line, linebacker for linebacker. Like, we don't want to have those convos. So I feel like at times we default to just, let's point the finger here, except the ones that actually do matter. But once again, when that is the setup, it is what it is. I would also say this. I do agree with the philosophy change, because it's like we've learned enough now through TJ and Minka and Cam. And what I mean is this. TJ is a top 5 edge rusher on his worst day. Minka Fitzpatrick is a top 5 safety on his worst day. Cam Hayward's a top 5 D tackle on his worst day. But the impact of a top 5 outside linebacker or safety or D tackle versus the impact of a top 5 or top 10 quarterback, that gap is crazy. Whereas you can have what is deemed as a elite defense and just the okay defense, that gap isn't that far. Case in point, Ravens Steelers this year. Think about how we would laugh and talk about that Ravens defense and how they were playing at the end of the season solely because, hey, man, they just cut out a little bit of the self-inflicted stuff. But personnel wise, we'd be like, yo, we got TJ, we got Minka. And it's like, it's not that big of a gap. But when we bring up Lamar Jackson to Russell Wilson, when we bring up Derrick Henry to any of our running game, when you bring up Jalen Hurts to Russell Wilson or Justin Fields, when you bring up Saquon to any of our running game, when we talk about their O-lines, I think that that's the reality of it from my vantage point. So continue to say to myself, where do I find that quarterback at? How do I find that guy? Because if I don't have that guy, I have to be perfect across the board. Like we've already seen, I already know this method. It gets me 10 wins, but I'm going to run into the buzzsaw. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Baker Mayfield. All right. And Baker wasn't a great quarterback, but remember how the game started. We spotted him how many points in the first quarter, right? And don't act like that was a defensive thing. The first snap of the game was us on offense. Then we had another turnover on offense. So I know we can do is this, but from my vantage point, I didn't agree with that. I feel like the two where I look at as like the weirdo losses throughout the span of one and dones are the Blake Bortles and the Baker Mayfields. And when you look at the context of both of those, it kind of makes sense as well. But outside of that, it's like Steelers supposed to go on the road and beat Kansas City with Mahomes that year. They were the favorites that? No. Were they favorites last year in Buffalo? No. Were they favorites this year? No. In fact, they were dang near double-digit point spreads this year. But I get it. That's why I was like, from my vantage point, I don't necessarily overreact to that. I say, yeah, we got a lot of work to do. And the pieces that we need are a quarterback. And if you can't upgrade quarterback, you need to upgrade wide receiver room and give yourself a legitimate chance to score. Because right now you're playing I have to be perfect and make sure that the ball bounces my way every single time or 90% of the time. Because if it doesn't, versus these higher power offenses, these higher quality quarterbacks, that gap is too big right now. Regardless if it's Justin Fields, regardless if it was Kenny Pickett, regardless when it was Mitch Trubisky, doesn't matter any of them dudes. They haven't proven that they can be that consistently just yet. And until they do, we're going to constantly be in this cycle from my vantage point.